Hi, I'm Hannah from The Girl in a Cafe.
And I'm Claire from Claire Reads.
And together we're book buddies. Today we're going to be talking about Stung by Bethany Wiggins. Ta-da! Bloomsbury calls it the Hunger Games with a sting.
Fiona was the future. She was chosen to save society from a deadly disease. Now her life means nothing.
Dun, dun. Scary stuff right there.
So the plot, I thought it was a very cool dystopian idea.
It was definitely something that began as a really good idea. I felt though that it wasn't executed as well as it could have been done, but I definitely enjoyed the premise of the bees not existing on the planet. I thought that was a really good way to start off.
I think it was very creative. Like there's so many different things that you can do, and so many things have already been done, and the fact that Bethany Wiggins has found something different with the bees was really good for me, I thought.
And something as well that's relevant to today's society, in the fact that if we didn't have bees, there would be no flowers or anything to pollinate, there would be no honey and all the rest of it, and how she incorporated the honey as like a super special thing that you needed to have. Yeah, it was overall like, I really don't know what I'm saying. Pretty good. Yeah.
I thought for me there was a lot going on. While I loved the premise, I thought the fact that the bees were going extinct, so they engineered these new bees which ended up turning out to be really bad, so they had a vaccination that they give to the kids which turned out to be bad as well. For me there was just too many things going on, and really she could have cut out a lot of things if she just gone from one thing to the other. She maybe could have done it differently.
Yeah, kept it a bit more simple.
Yeah.
I felt as well that the world building was quite rushed and very sparse as well, so you don't find a lot about what had actually happened to Earth once the bee virus struck. You were just sort of, it was taken for granted, mainly because Fiona at the start of the book doesn't know what's going on or where she is, so you're still learning at the same time as her. However, when you do find out the information, it doesn't really seem to be built on as big as it should have done. So generally the whole plot felt a bit overrushed and almost convoluted in a way for me. But I know that wasn't the case for you, Claire.
No, I thought the story progression was actually pretty good. Like, I loved the way that it went. I personally didn't think it was too rushed. I know there's probably some people out there who did think that way. There were just for me there were some cliche bits, obviously, that were in there that you kind of definitely could have given a skip, but because I was involved in the story so much, they didn't really, it was something that I could pass over quite easily, so yeah.
What I felt let down the book was the characters, and that kind of involved the world building as well. I felt that in terms of Fiona's character, she was extremely weak-minded, and therefore she wasn't too concerned about what was going on around her, which led to her having more of a focus on the romance and her own thoughts rather than the world around her, and that let her down quite a lot.
I agree. I thought Fiona was quite weak. I mean, she might not have known too much about her beast DNA inside her and what could be happening, but I mean, she does actually kill someone at one point, and she does bust open a stuck door, which probably sounds a bit lame, but once you read it you understand. And she does I mean, at those points she knows that she's stronger than a man, but yet she
doesn't question her abilities or the fact that she may have abilities, especially with the fact, I think that it was a great concept in the fact that she woke up and she knew absolutely nothing, and as a reader you don't know anything that's going on as well, and I thought that worked well to a certain point, but again it felt too rushed and didn't really have a lot for character progression, especially with her interaction with other characters like Bowen, for example, who I didn't really like as much. I felt he was very bland and one-dimensional. He was one of these guys who kind of ran hot and cold, and I didn't really love him as much as I wanted to,
but that's okay because I did. I thought he was such a strong character. He goes through a lot in the book. He's very fierce as well, but he's also kind, and Bethany Wiggins does show a more gentle side to him, but at the same time he you can tell that they show throughout the whole book that women are basically like hot commodities, and men, you know, obviously being men, have their urges, and Bowden also does have that as well, but so that kind of made him still realistic. He wasn't like this dreamy guy for me.
He was definitely one of the more realistic types of guys in a dystopian novel that I've read. However, I did feel that I didn't really enjoy him as much. He was more of the Adam from the Shadow Me type of trope, where he liked the girl from afar when they were younger, and I just don't like that at all, to be honest.
I did. I did. I thought it was good, and yeah, so I suppose that's different views.
Exactly. I felt the secondary characters as well weren't as well developed as they could have been. A lot of the secondary characters had a lot of potential, especially Fiona's brother Jonah, which I know you really liked quite a lot.
I did. I absolutely loved Jonah as a character, and for a lot of people that's probably going to seem strange because he's a beast and he doesn't talk, but yet he has this humanity about him that honestly just trumped over everything in the book for me. I loved the fact that he had that connection between him and Fiona,
which was great. And obviously there is a baddie in the book, as all dystopian novels do, and I do like my baddies, and I felt that we didn't really get to see a lot of this character. Obviously with the second book coming out, I think next year, we may get to see a lot more of him, fingers crossed, and see what his role was like. But once again, the secondary characters, who all had a lot of potential, didn't really go anywhere and fell a bit flat for me.
Let's talk romance.
Ooh la la.
Personally, I loved it. I didn't think it overshadowed the story too much.
However, I think it did. This was definitely more of a romantic dystopian rather than a dystopian novel with romantic elements. It was very much of an insta-love, so if that's your kind of thing, rejoice! However, I think that the infatuation was great and all, but it didn't really connect the characters together as well. And I mean, I guess when you find yourself as with the only compassionate person left in the world, of course you're going to fancy them a great deal, but I didn't think it warranted enough for the I love yous coming too soon in the storyline, unfortunately. And yeah, so it just didn't feel as real to me.
I on the other hand thought it was. I thought, considering it was a dystopian kind of setting, and you know, she could turn into a beast any moment, like, you know, all these kind of different things, I personally thought that it was okay for me. Maybe it was just because I was so involved in the story, who knows, but
I did though like how the levels of trust were built up throughout the story, but especially between Bowen and Fiona, as opposed to Fiona's trust to Bowen. Obviously at first he wasn't able to trust her as much, but there was obviously something about her that he noticed, that she was more human rather than this marked beast, which I felt kind of redeemed it slightly.
Okay, so pros. My pros were, I loved the premise, I love the whole dystopian kind of bee setting, and I love the family bond between Jonah and Fiona, which I suppose isn't very obvious, but that's what I loved about it.
I really enjoyed the idea behind the bee virus as well. As somebody that watched The Swarm about 10 million times when I was younger, because my brother forced me to, that element kind of made it a lot creepier and definitely a bit more interesting, and definitely strayed away from the usual dystopian tropes. So that was a definite pro for me. Was there anything you didn't like, Claire?
Yeah, my cons would have to be some of the cliche parts in there. I'm not going to go through mentioning them because once you read it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, they bring it down a little bit. What about yours?
Well, I felt that the lack of world building itself brought the novel down, and the insta-love as well was not my cup of tea. So that just brought it down a whole lot more for me, unfortunately.
So overall, I absolutely loved it. I gave it a 5 stars, and I can't wait for the next book, which I think is called Cured, to come out next year. So bring that one on.
I gave it 2 stars in the end. It was a very brief and quick read and will definitely appeal to lots of fans of romance. However, this one just didn't cut it out for me. But that's okay, because I'm sure Claire will update me on what happens in the next book. Stung is available now, I think, at all good retailers.
Bloomsbury.
Published by Bloomsbury. Go support your local bookstore or buy one off Book Deposit Tree.
Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did and you want to watch more, subscribe down and comment if you've read it or if you want to read it, whatever you think.
Let us know your thoughts, if they are like our own or if you agree with some of the points or disagree, and let us know what you think.
Alright, see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Bye. Hi, I'm Hannah from The Girl in a Cafe.
And I'm Claire from Claire Reads.
And together, we're book buddies. Well, apparently I'm a book buddy, she's not a book buddy.
I'm not a book buddy, never mind.
It's all good. We're not friends. I don't even know her. Just some random person that I picked up on the street.
Alright.
Hi, I'm Hannah from A Girl in a Cafe.
And I'm Claire from Claire Reads.
And together we're book buddies. Yay! You did it that time. I got that recording. So we're going to have to do it again.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you already have... What? Do you already have the first book in the dream list? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Off topic. Starting. I was going to start. Hold on. I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, just keep it rolling. Okay.